back in 2019, I had this bold dream to change the world. I'd noticed there was this lack of humanness just around us in general, not just from the immediate reality that I could see in front of me, but also, through the lens of the online world, I could see this lack of humanness sort of starting to creep into our psyche and into our society, and so I created this idea called humanized training, and this is coming from, it started off as from my personal training background, but also just things I'd learnt coming from a very destructive lifestyle and sort of picking myself out of that. And I just wanted to teach people what I'd learned. And so, I had this bold dream of bringing this to reality and, helping as many people as I possibly could. And obviously, hopefully, making a good living out of it along the way. So this was sort of my business idea. And fast forward, 6 months or so, and then all of a sudden, the whole bloody world is locked away in their home. I felt really compelled at this time because there was a lot of fear in the world. This was such a bizarre time, and the whole world could feel it. There was this feeling of stress and fear, and I was using that energy to try and to give myself hope, because I was feeling that fear as well. But I thought, if I can use these lessons of health and well-being and trying to, like I said, that trying to feel more human, if I could teach these things to people, this is just the most amazing timing to switch the psyche of the world and reduce this fear that we were all feeling. And I haven't really talked much about what went on over these 6 years, and the highs and the lows. Anyone out there who knows starting a business is you have to sacrifice a lot of time, a lot of money, and part of yourself, gets invested in this thing. One of the problems I discovered along this journey is that I do not understand advertising. My brain just I cannot wrap my head around it. I'm just not wired that way. I tried to get this message out, and it just never happened. So the form that humanized training took, sort of the life force of it sort of changed all the time. I had one bright idea after the next, and the thing is, I was working as a personal trainer, which was a difficult industry to be in ever since all of the home lockdowns, and people just weren't wanting to spend that extra money. Everyone was sort of living in this sort of state of fear. So I was essentially working part-time on that, but full-time on my business idea, and my poor wife was having to fund a lot of this. I didn't have much money coming in, but I was so convinced that this thing was going to be a success, and I told her time and time again that she won't have to work for the rest of her life, and I truly believe this just down to the deepest depths of my being. I could feel it, I could see it, I could see the, helping millions of people, and it was the dream was massive, and obviously it was quite naive looking back at it, but I poured absolutely everything I had into it. I was up early morning into the night, just working all day, every day, 7 days a week, and eventually it took its toll. But the ironic thing is, the things I was trying to teach people, I was almost not doing in practice for myself, which was probably in hindsight one of the letdowns, why it didn't succeed. But I suppose the lessons that I learned along the way is that it's really important to ask yourself really difficult questions and check in on yourself, give yourself a reality check, um, which I didn't do because I was so convinced that this thing was going to work, that I was just bullish. I was just fast forward, all in, for 6 years, which is crazy. I put in just a whole lot of work for, you know, the work itself will never never be seen by the world, which is just crazy to think. But the things I learnt along the way, because of the concepts and the ideas that I was trying to teach people, that that stuck with me, and that's really helped me with my shortcomings and my own personality and my own life and how I deal with stress and things like that. That's improved a lot from this hope of being able to teach it to other people. It almost, in a funny roundabout way, I sort of was just teaching myself and coaching myself, and yeah, I feel like that was sort of the silver lining out of this, that even though the business failed, I don't feel like it was a waste of time, or that I failed as a person, because I learnt so much about myself along the way, and I feel a lot stronger as a person nowadays, but also very proud that I didn't sort of sell out and do, the cookie cutter route, because in that sort of fitness industry, all you need to do is post the whole, or back then anyway, it was quite, all you need to do is just post physique photos and copy and paste the generic captions, and you get a good following and people will buy your products. But that's not what I was trying to sell. It was something of what I believed is a lot more substance and a lot more life-changing than just focusing on the physical body. I was really trying to transform people's lives and their mind, and so I'm proud that I learnt that about myself along the way, is that I'm very stubborn, but I'm also very, I'll stick to my morals, which I'm very proud of that, because it was a trying time. It cost me a lot of money. That 6 years of my life I won't get back, which I basically, I didn't see people a lot of the time because I was so invested in bringing this thing to life. So, there was a lot of sacrifice for not the outcome that I was hoping for, but lessons that I will live with and be able to carry forward into the future, and sort of not make those so-called mistakes again. And I've learnt to just appreciate being content with what I've got now, because I was chasing this huge dream and this huge high in a way. It was a very frantic way of living. It was very high stress. I couldn't afford to pay my bills. I was relying on my wife, and that causes friction in the relationship, and I don't want to go back to that point. So essentially it got to the point where I'd promised her years ago that if this thing didn't work, I said, I promise you I'll get a regular job to pay our bills, and I will do that. And so that's what happened last year, 2025. After 6 years of, giving it my all, I had to sit down with myself and ask myself some pretty tough questions. And I went back and forth a few times with myself, because every time I thought, I have to give up on this thing, I have to let it go and just move on. I'd go on my computer and look at all the work that I'd done, and it's pretty heartbreaking when you put so much time into something that just doesn't turn into what you wanted it to. But you have to face reality sometimes. That's just the way of life. Like, things aren't always going to go the way you want. This is not one of those success stories where it's like follow your dreams and they're going to come true. This was a hard pill to swallow. But I didn't give up. I'm not giving up on being a dreamer. I'll always be a dreamer. I'll always be a creator. That's just who I am. And I learnt that about myself. So I had to ask myself, is this going to work? I came to the conclusion this thing just is not going to work. I just couldn't reach people. What do I really want out of my life? Life's precious. We've only got so much time. What do I actually want to, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I'm just living this, I was living this stressed, frantic lifestyle, just stuck in this loop. So I decided I don't want that anymore. And what are the things that are most important to me? It's being a loving partner, building a future with my wife where we're both happy, and taking care of myself and feeling whole and healthy, and focusing on creative endeavours. I've always loved making music, but I completely stopped making music in this time because I was so fixated on making a business come to life, thinking that the business was going to be my saviour, which would free up time. But the reality is that time was always there. I was just spending it all on the business. So this was a few weeks of just sitting with myself and my thoughts and really, really, really focusing on these questions. And so I got a job. I quit personal training. I quit the business. And I started creating again. I started creating music again. And here I was thinking that a regular 40-hour-a-week job would suck all my time, but it felt like I had more time. I had more time to train, I had more time to run, I had more time to make music. I studied a music course at the beginning of this year, and it actually gave me a lot more freedom than the prison this self-imposed prison that I'd put on myself. And so I suppose the reason why I'm doing this video is just because on this channel I've never really shared these kind of things, and I've kind of got this weird fear that if I share too much I'll be giving a piece of myself away that I won't be able to get back. But I decided that if you don't share these kind of things, there might be someone who needs to hear this, or I think it's just a confidence thing. I think part of the reason, in actual fact, why I couldn't get my message out there with my business venture was because maybe there was something in me that was too hesitant to really push it out there. Even though I thought I was, I think I spent all my time on creating the thing but not being able to talk about it properly. So I've decided now that there's no need to be fearful of that anymore. If I've got something that I think is important to talk about, I'm just going to talk about it. There's, what harm can it do? If it helps people, if it helps create conversations, then in a roundabout way, I will be able to share the vision that I created back in 2019, So I just want people to see the world in a way that, the world can be beautiful if we look for those beautiful things. And that's the way I've tried to live my life for the past however many years, most of my adulthood. That's what I've tried to do. And I think we will feel more connected as people. We won't feel like we require as much. We can live a bit more simple. We can live with a bit more health, and we can feel more connected to each other once again. So I think there's this real feeling in the world at the moment where people want to go back. There's this whole nostalgic feeling kind of going around where people miss the simpler times. So anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that tangent, but yeah, that's the story in a nutshell. It's not about I think it's important we have a dream and we chase the dream, but I think it's really important to actually ask yourself the more difficult, confronting questions, and try and understand and sit with yourself and understand why you're doing these things. Because there's a lot that we can, we can get from this life. I think a lot of us we've got so much imagination and creative power, but it's often distracted and sucked away from us due to fear. So I think if we can just be more honest with ourselves and stop worrying about that outside noise and just go within yourself. You have to spend that time with yourself to know what you really want, and what's really important to you. And sometimes a simple life is the best life you can possibly live. We don't have to be busy all the time. We don't have to be feeling all of the stress all the time. That was a big thing I got out of this journey, is that I don't like feeling stressed. I like being relaxed. I think simplifying things and just trying to spend, it's all the simple stuff is the most important stuff. Spending time with your loved ones, being healthy, and if you've got some extra spare time, just go and create some shit. When you're a kid, you've got, imagination runs wild, and I think the world tries to take that away from you. We have to grow up and be all serious, but it's not that serious at the end of the day. So I think it's just have more fun with your life and just get on with it, really. So that was my my story about my failed business. The business failed, but I learned a lot more about myself that I could ever really, I never saw those lessons coming, which is the beauty of trying something and chasing after something. It's the beauty of not knowing where it's going to go. That's the beauty of chasing dreams and having ambitions and all of that good stuff. Just being a dreamer and going after things and not having that fear holding you back. I think that's the main lesson that I learnt out of all this. And just keep trying, keep fucking throwing the dice and see what comes up, and just go after something new. If you feel compelled to do so. If not, then just chill out. It's all good. I think that's all I've got to say about this one. Thanks for watching, and a lot more videos to come. There'll be a lot more updates on what's going on with this channel, because I know obviously it's usually shoe reviews and running and all of that, that's coming. But yeah, I've got more things to get off my chest and explain, and then we'll get back to it. Cheers.